Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about why the Man Spider story arc should be adapted for the big screen. If the MCU was smart, which they have proven lately they are not with the recent fumble of the MCU and plus that of their Disney Plus stuff because they just using AI to make the title card sequence for Secret Invasion. The machines are taking over. And if Sony was smart, which they've proven they are not, but then again, people keep saying Across the Spider-Verse is really good. I have no idea because I haven't seen it yet. But if all these people who make Spider-Man content was really smart, they would have already or recently think about making a man spider for their next MCU or Spider-Man project, let's put it like that. Because, what Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man really needs is to be Spider-Man. He finally got to be Spider-Man again in his third movie outing and stuff, his solo movie outing, that is. Because he was Spider-Man when he was first introduced in the Civil War, but then after that, he became Iron Man Jr. And so, with now him starting to be Spider-Man, they really need to go in a radical direction, something fresh, something new. And it would be nice to go into the horror aspect of it. I remember back when the Amazing Spider-Man came out, I was just sitting in my chair in the theater just hoping that they would turn Spider-Man into Man Spider towards the end of the movie to face off against the Lizard. That would have been something different and new because we all know with the Amazing Spider-Man, they had to be as different from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man as possible. They had to change the costume, the actors, the plot, the villain. They had to redo his origin. They redid his origin where it took cues from the comics, but not really. And it kind of irritated a couple of fans. But still remember thinking to myself saying, okay, here come the Lizard. He's really big and powerful. How is this version of Spider-Man gonna go up against him as skinny as he is? And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be neat if he took more of that serum, injected himself with it, and then turned into Man Spider, because he knew that's the only thing that could go up against this giant lizard. And that would have been so cool, but they never did that. And so now is the perfect opportunity for whoever's gonna make a Spider-Man movie to do. It has never been done on the big screen. In fact, it's only been done on a small screen twice. One is the Spider-Man animated series, which I will be talking about very soon. And then the second one was very brief, and Spider-Man Unlimited was supposed to be the sequel series to that of Spider-Man the animated series. But it was very brief and kind of not and kind of is when it turns to is it a sequel, is it not? Anyway, I've already talked about Spider-Man Unlimited. Go watch that video. But John Schimper, who was amazing in the 90s. He was really cooking in the 90s when it came to Spider-Man. He has since fallen off his game when he came to DC. If you saw that Green Lantern John Stewart animated movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He was the storyboard behind that, the story writer for that, and yeah, that was not a good movie. But when he was in the 90s working with Spider-Man, boy, he was cooking up a storm and everything, a feast, a buffet and everything, if you will. And because he was like the showrunner of that. And in season 2, he came up with the story arc of the Neogenics Recombinator, like really pushing that. And Spider-Man went through a really interesting story arc in season 2. So interesting, they used the first half of it in Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi movie. In fact, Sam Raimi takes a lot of his inspiration from that animated series. And when it came to season 2 story arc, Peter Parker, Spider-Man was going through a change. In the first couple episodes, starting right off from the bat, he started losing his spider powers. And he started losing them not because of what happened in Spider-Man 2, the movie, where he just lost his self-confidence, but his mutation was progressing. And so, like, but he had no idea. He had no idea why he kept losing his power. They would just glitch in and glitch out. And it caused him to get his butt kicked a couple of times with some of the villains when the Sinister Six was created, known then as the Insidious Six, because they weren't allowed to use that name. And so, like I'm saying, man, because the we all know it's coming, the Sinister Six and Sony. So he started losing his powers, and he even went to sleep one night, and he slept for an entire day and an entire night. And so his powers constantly come back on and off. It caused him to, like, not be able to do his spider duties as much as he could. He couldn't like go get his costume because he put him on top of a skyscraper, so he couldn't run there. He had to run through town and sneak into his house. Then when he's being chased by the Insidious Six, like he kept his clothes in a bag close to like him this time, so he can change in and out because they were pursuing him and he was losing his powers. He thought his web shooters would be enough, but they couldn't because his supervillains are super strong. And so as they're like, ganging up on him and kidnapping up May, they unmask him. But then they think to themselves, you know what? He doesn't act like Spider-Man. He's not flipping around. He's not doing what he normally does. He's not swinging. He must just be Peter Parker pretending to be Spider-Man to get his Aunt May back. And so in the big climax, his powers cut back on, and then he's able to kick everybody's butt. But he has to use his brain a lot, and Mysterio's like hollow cubes and stuff. Anyway, he saves the day. He thinks everything's fine, but then when he gets his test run by Dr. Kirk Connors, he tells him that your mutation is growing, and it's gonna grow into something that might not be human. This causes him to freak out, and because he does not want to be mutated. So he goes to the X-Men thinking they have a cure. They don't. What they do is they help people accept the mutation. This causes him to act out, and we never really get to see him act out. And so, like, because of that, it causes him to lose his temper and lose his concentration to where bad stuff is going around him. After he regains his composure and everything, he goes to Maria Crawford, and she's trying to work on a cure. And so, but the problem is he's running tests on his own blood. This is when Michael Morbius gets a hold of his blood, get bit by a bat with the Neogenesis Recombinator, and turns into Morbius, the living vampire. Now he has to live with the pain of knowing that, like, his blood has caused harm to somebody. And it's just like he said, every time he touches something, something ends up bad. And so, like, he is now trying to stop Morbius, but there is a problem. He has so much pain in his sides, and he has no idea why. And it was curious because you just think, okay, it's stomach cramps or something like that, I was not expecting what happened to happen. So when Maria thought she had a cure, he wanted it, but she wanted to run more tests. He's being so impulsive and he scared the crap out of her. That way she gave him the cure knowing that, she needs to run more tests on it. And it gets to the point where his everyday life is starting to be affected and the pain is too excruciating. So he drinks the cure, but it accelerates his mutation to the point where he grows like extra arms. Now he has like 6 arms. And I was very shocked when I saw this. I was not expecting it because I never read those Spider-Man comics the way he has like 6 arms and stuff. But it's quite fascinating to see that. And it will look amazing on, like, the big screen. And because think about it, we've never seen this. And in all the other Spider-Man cartoons, like, Ultimate Spider-Man and Marvel Spider-Man, they've never went this route. Maybe because, oh no, it might scare the children and everything. Because the worst is coming and stuff. And so, like, as he's trying to stop Morbius from feeding on people and stuff like that, and using his brain to figure out where Morbius is, because I really love it when they use Spider-Man's brain. They don't really do that no more in like the movies. He's just kind of like whatever and stuff. And so, like, but here he really had to use his brain. And so, like, while all this is going on, he himself is being hunted. He's hunting Morbius, but he's being hunted by the Punisher. And it was so cool to see the Punisher. We only got that cameo in the X-Men movie. But here he is just as violent as he could ever be, but on a kid's show. In fact, they're not even allowed to say guns or weapons. They have to use the word ornaments and everything, which is weird and stuff. But then his weapons are bizarre. His weapons are like goo, like a like kind of like glue and like a grappling hook and anything, and then laser blast, and that's about it. Because they weren't allowed to show stuff like that on the show, and he didn't blow stuff up really that much until his next appearance. And so Spider-Man is having to deal with a lot. He can't go home because Aunt May will freak out if she sees him the way she does. He can't go to Mary Jane Watson. His love life is being affected by this. His Aunt May is worrying because she don't know where Peter is because he has now disappeared. And not only that, but Jameson has made Spider-Man into a fugitive because Michael Morbius has disappeared, and they now think Spider-Man has something to do with that. Even to the point where Felicia Hardy, his on again, off again crush, is like blaming Spider-Man for all this. And then not only that, but like, he's but it's like, he's, suspect number one in everything that's going on. And so when Morbius turns back human during this daylight, all of a sudden he disappears when he's in the hospital, and they think Spider-Man did it because he's the only person who can get to like the third floor. So it's like, he has a lot of crap going on. And this is what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man, is that not only does he have his Spider-Man stuff to deal with, but he has his everyday life drama to deal with as well. And it's great. And then the big climax of the entire thing is like, he transforms mid fight when he's under some rubble with the Punisher, and he turns into a literal man spider. The transformation is very scary looking at that time. His hands are normal, but then they bust out with three like three finger claws and stuff, and they have like, his head is no longer human. It's just this giant monster thing. The Peter Parker everybody knew and loved is gone, and here is this man spider wearing a tattered Spider-Man costume. And we know something's wrong when you see his mask is ripped to shreds, kind of, because his head is no longer the same size it used to be. And it's this giant tarantula man spider looking thing. And every scene the man spider's in, it looks gruesome and everything. It's even to the point where it's scaring the Punisher. And now the people in town, when they see this, they now know Spider-Man is a monster and stuff. So it's only more drama added to him. And the thing is, he is partially all spider now, like mentally and stuff. But some of his human aspects are still coming out. And so, like, this would be very fascinating if it was in the live screen. We could have Spider-Man as the villain terrorizing people, and have like one of his like villains or whatever could try to like stop him. And then what's interesting, and then this is when we get Kraven the Hunter in the animated series. He reappears because Maria now has found the cure, but she needs help tracking down Spider-Man. So here comes Sergey coming in and like hunting Spider-Man as he's being pursued by the Punisher. So now we get Kraven and we get the Punisher going toe to toe with each other. And now Kraven has been introduced on live action in his solo movie that's coming out soon. This would be very, very perfect and stuff. And they keep trying to make all his villains in the Sonyverse into anti-heroes. Well, what if they had a man spider to hunt down? So instead of being villains, they're trying to take him down and stuff, And that would be flipping the script. That would be so excellent. And so like, his humanity is trying to come in. He's still trying to stop Morbius as a man spider. He is trying to get the Neogenesis Recombinator back and try to cure himself, but it's only stopped by like, human interference. And so Craven and Punisher, they work together to take him down. And it's a huge fight because he's a giant man spider and stuff. And so they're finally able to give him the cure and put his mask back on him so they won't have to see his identity. And he freaks out because he knew he turned into a monster, but he's not all sure what all went on and stuff. And afterwards, he's thankful that he has friends that have his back and everything. This would be so perfect if they would do that in live action. And they really need to do that for Tom Holland one. And if they don't do it for him, then bring back Garfield, and Andrew Garfield it is, and make him in the Man Spider since he never got his third movie. But if you really want to go back to the well, hey, bring back Tobey Maguire and do it. Alrighty, well I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.